this can't be happening. This is not real. It was very, very hard to accept something that tragic could be happening right before your eyes.
I was at a waste isolation project plant in New Mexico, which is a nuclear facility. I was a captain with the fire district at the time.
I was at home, like many other Americans, watching the morning news. I was getting ready for my day, and we saw the events unfold. Didn't think it'd be possible for things like that to happen in our country.
I was 2 blocks from the White House with the rest of the Fontana City Council. We were headed later that morning for meetings on Capitol Hill.
I was teaching at Bloomington High School, and it seemed very surreal, and it just caught many of us off guard. It's something we would never expect to happen.
I got hired September 10th. I was at Station 222 here in the city of San Bernardino. I was just thinking, gosh, there's firefighters in there. You know, you come into the job knowing that it's dangerous. We know it's life-threatening situations, but that day actually put it in perspective for me.
I had an infant daughter who was home with me, and we were awake when the first plane hit the tower and I was watching the news. My late husband had just gone off to work, and it was the culmination of thoughts of how would this impact not only our first responders on the ground, but potentially our military and the families of those who serve our country.
I've been in combat, I've been in the mortar, artillery, and everything else, but when you see something like that, and you know that, oh no, how many people are going to die in this?
Just like everyone else, I was watching television and getting ready for our usual day at work. At first, it was kind of in disbelief when it occurred. It wasn't until a few minutes later that the second tower got hit by the second aircraft that I realized that we have a problem.
All of us, of course, having that background, we knew the severity of the incident that they were dealing with. We knew a lot of lives were going to be lost.
We watched the rest of the city evacuate. Everybody who could get out of D.C. did. Soon there were F-16s flying combat patrols overhead because we didn't know if all the planes that had been hijacked had been identified yet. And we were actually hearing that they hadn't. We were worried about another attack right where we were standing.
You know, I served 8 years in Congress. The attack on the Pentagon, you know that they could have taken out the whole leadership department of the U.S. government.
You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the 2 towers. A huge explosion now raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way.
When the first tower fell, we knew a lot of our first responder brothers and sisters were going to be killed. There was no doubt that was going to be the eventuality of the situation.
I just saw the smoke come up, and the explosion shook the house clear over here. They ran one into the Pentagon and into the World Trade Center, and we're watching it on TV. And this one happened.
The trade centers here in New York have been hit by airplanes. And there's, you can see, perhaps the second tower, the front tower, the top portion of which is collapsing. Good Lord. There are no words.
Problem at the North Tower, Peter.
Let's look at the North Tower. Quickly.
To be coming down.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
The second tower.
It's hard to put it into words, and maybe one doesn't need to.
After the second tower went down, our team, DMAT CA2, was notified to activate. When we arrived in New York, we were actually deployed to Ground Zero. As you pass one of the bridges there, you can start to see the destruction that had occurred. It was surreal, it was something out of a movie. Carnage everywhere. In our time that we were there, they were still in search and rescue. They found approximately 15 bodies, mainly of 9/11 rescuers, most of them firefighters. What would happen in that particular case, if a body was found of a potential rescuer, a horn would sound off, all work would stop, and normally you would see a small detachment either from law enforcement or the fire service that would go to the site location. A U.S. flag would be draped over the individual. Literally a human chain from the site location. Hey, I'm losing it. Sorry about that. They would actually have a funeral procession. All rescuers would line both sides of West Street and salute as the vehicle went back to its final destination. And it is something that became commonplace. So in remembrance of them, every year, our department, we have authorized a special badge, which is basically 9/11. And during the month of September, we wear that badge in their honor.
After the country got over the shell shock of September 11th itself, we unified in the way that I've never seen before in my lifetime. There was this incredible sense of people wanting to reach out and help their neighbors and loved ones and do it in whatever way they could.
The rest of the world hears you.
For a few years after that, it was all about unity. I mean, the spirit was all about America then. Everybody united. Everything was focused on that.
Being a military member myself, a former Marine, feeling that from the rest of the country was pretty cool. We hadn't seen that on that scale.
Now, more than ever before, people were hugging each other because, hey, we're all in this together.
I very much wanted to stand up with my fellow Americans to protect our country and our civilians throughout the United States.
Our hearts went out to those families that were lost, police and firefighters, many of our first responders. Most of all, that brought our country together. We were very unified at that time, and even though it was a tragic event, it brought our country together.
The spirit of national unity is what makes me proud to be an American. It is something that I witness in all of our first responders and those that took up and decided to fight the fight to join the military in defense of our country, and really brought us back together to remind us all what was important and why we are such a great country and enjoy the freedoms that we do.
9/11 lies true to my heart, and will always remember them to the very day that I eventually pass on.
We will always remember 9/11, and we'll never forget.
We will never forget